Well, I'll give it to the Halloween series. Every subsequent sequel makes all the previous ones look better by comparison, usually. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers is directed by Joe Chappelle, who I don't believe ever really worked again, and it stars Donald Pleasance, Paul Rudd in his first big movie, or first movie in general, Marianne Hagan, and yeah, this one is a continuation of 5. Remember how 5 ended with this weird man in black? He's like a cowboy with the spurs on his boots, and he like attacked a police station, and Jamie and Michael Myers went missing. Well, now Jamie is like, she's supposedly only 6 years older. She's supposed to be like 13, 14, but she looks like she's at least 25. She's got a kid. Michael's trying to kill her and her kid. And then he's also going to go on the rampage against people living in the Myers house. It's the Strode family, so not even blood relatives, but the Strode family of, like, whatever it would have been. Would it be like Laurie's foster uncle, aunt? Somewhere along there, they're living in the Myers house, so they're also going to be attacked. And it has to tie in with a druid cult trying to control Michael Myers, and yeah, this movie sure went off the rails. And not only did I watch the original one, but also this came with the producer's cut, which I bought separately because I didn't open the case, because I bought this like a year ago and I never like opened it to look at any of the movies, so I didn't realize I had the producer's cut. So I own that twice. That's great. But right now I'm talking about the original theatrical cut movie that actually is more of the director's vision, more or less, because the producer got his cut. So usually the producers, the money men, are the ones that get final say, but I guess this is more of the director slash editor's vision of what they wanted, even though it was a lot of infighting in this movie. It's a disaster, and watching it you can tell. First off, the plot of this movie, if I thought Halloween 3 was bad, it is, and it's silly and it's crazy, but this one's even worse. It makes all the other ones look better in comparison. Michael is being controlled by a druid cult with this man in the black, this cowboy figure, like trying to control him, and it has to do with runes of old druid cults that have to do with family sacrifices, and it's just like, okay, we're overcomplicating things that started out very simple. And the first one, he's just a crazy dude that was pure evil, and that was kind of it. It wasn't big, it wasn't this grand scheme conspiracy, and now at this point it's so just overstuffed with all this different, trying to explain everything, and it's so complicated and it's so unnecessary. This one of all the sequels so far has actually kept my attention the best, because it is kind of the most crazy and just like whatever. But 4 and 5 I was kind of bored watching, and I felt like they were tedious at times. This one, I was always at least interested. It kept me the most entertained. And it's still awful though, like the characters in this too, like Paul Rudd is playing Tommy Doyle, the little boy from the first one that Laurie was babysitting. He comes back. They bring a lot of like unnecessary old characters. Tommy Doyle, someone who talked to Loomis in like the first movie and was his boss. Like all these people come back unnecessarily because it doesn't need to be them really, but why not? And I don't really care about any of the characters, and the stakes where it's like we're gonna have these children again that Michael will kill or become killers, even though they've held back from that in the past, so they're really not gonna do it now for sure. And then all the acting, holy crap, Paul Rudd in this movie. It's his first movie, and yeah, it's amazing really he got work, because I love him. I think he's hilarious, but in this movie it's his funniest performance ever, unintentionally. He's so bad. He's like trying to do some type of Norman Bates or something. Creepy performance, and it's every line he says just hilariously awful, and it's just goofy. And then like the main woman in the movie, like she's whatever, but she's so funny when she's freaking out and screaming, "Oh no!" Like it sounds like that. Oh! Like it's not a scream like old Laurie Strode just freaking out. Ah! Oh no! And then she jumps out a 2-story window, and then everyone else is very, yeah, you got some assholes, you got some lame, like there's a fucking shock jock, is that what they're called? Like the old Howard Stern type radio personality. That asshole comes in here. There's an abusive dad asshole that he gets electrocuted to the point his head explodes. Like that's actually, see what I'm saying? Like this might be a bad movie, but it's more entertaining. I'm more interested in seeing like, okay, here's annoying assholes. His head's gonna blow up. There's something. And I will say also, Michael Myers in this movie has looked the best since the original as far as his look. Like the mask looks great. I know the sequel was the original mask, but it was like worn in, but this, like, considering how crappy it looked in 4 and 5, this mask looks good. It doesn't look like the original, but it still looks like a good mask. I would want to buy that on Amazon. It looks good. It's creepy looking again. Finally, it's not all floppy and over the place and it doesn't fit and it just looks like poop. It looks like an okay mask and he's creepy in this. I like Michael in this one again. He's creepy even if they totally ruin the character by overcomplicating him and he's controlled by cults. And we'll talk about the producer's cut, what they add to that character. Yeah. And the making of the movie is pretty awful. As direction-wise, it's okay. There's some good shots. There's a tense scene or two. There's a part where they have to run into the Myers house and Michael is in there and they have to run in. She has to go get her kid. And so she's in the house with Michael Myers. And that setup is very creepy. It's not necessarily executed the best, but there's parts where like that is kind of effective. But other things like the music, the score, holy crap, they did it with like an electric guitar now. So that's not scary. An electric guitar Halloween theme or the shape stalks or lurks, whatever, using that with an electric guitar is it's the worst actually. It was worse than any of the other poorly like recreating scores. That was the worst of the worst. It was awful. And then the editing of this movie is awful. It really is. It starts immediately. The movie starts with bad editing and just keeps going. There's like all these transitions where it's screaming and knife slashes or loud noises and just showing too much. Like the climax of this movie so many times where it's just like showing a bunch of shit, quick cut, and you can't tell. It's incomprehensible. And like, yeah, the transitions, a lot of knife slashes or screams just as a sound effect to move on to the next scene. And shit like that is really, really awful. Not to mention all the horrible false jump scares. How many times in this movie they really like crank up the volume and have a sound effect to just musically sting like this is scary. No, it's not. They were so lame and bad and awful. This movie was upsetting in that way. But it was still like all the awfulness kind of, it's upsetting and it pissed me off. Like I hate 4 and this one, like there was things to hate even more, but at the same time, it was so bad and stupid and silly that I was laughing constantly, so I found it more enjoyable, entertaining in its awfulness. And this is one like 3 where it's like, it's bad, but it's a fun kind of bad, where it's a guilty pleasure and I enjoy it in that way. So yeah, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers is a disaster. The acting, pretty fucking bad. The music, horrible. Ruined it completely. The direction is like, whatever. There's a few, like it's competent, but yet it's not. Because the editing really chopped what might have been an okay movie to shit, really. The editing is awful in this movie. So much about the writing. It's just a horrible abortion of a movie, but it's so funny because of it. It's one of those movies so bad, it's kind of hilarious, so in that way I appreciate it, but it's still awful. I would give Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers an F. It's a horrible, horrible movie, but the producer's cut, I will say, improves the movie. It does. It makes it a little bit better. The first thing they do, the most important thing, all the bad editing, for the most part, gets removed. There's not all this horrible transitions with sound effects that are just over the top and all the loud false scares. They had them in here, and yet they toned the music down so it doesn't even play like a false scare anymore. And the music, no more electric guitar score. It's the classic Halloween score. Not the original John Carpenter, but it's like a cover version where it's like, okay, of all the derivative versions, this one sounds the best because it's close enough. And it's not a fucking electric guitar. They add a few things in the movie. It's like 10 minutes longer, and it explains a few things more, which the story's bad, so it's not like they can fix it, but they explain it and flesh it out a little more. But that leads to a very disappointing climax, because if you think it's lame enough in the original, Paul Rudd gets a pipe and it's like quick cut to show Michael getting his ass whooped or whatever, and you don't know what's happening. And the new one, it's literally, they end up in this warehouse area. Like the original actually was drawn out and like kind of creepy because there's a lot of fucked up stuff happening. They're wandering around this old sanitarium. I think it's Smith's Grove Sanitarium. And it takes a while. It's like a long climax. This producer's cut is about 2 minutes. It's crazy actually that Paul Rudd has these runes, because they explain he's controlled by Thorn, which is a Celtic old fucking thing of cult. Yeah, it's a cult and controlled by these energy stones. And so instead of this whole thing, they're getting chased around the sanitarium and it leads to an actual showdown where they fight. They chop all that out, and it's like they go rescue the baby and the girl. They run down one hallway, lay out some stones, some runes. Michael steps at him and then he just stops, and he can't do anything because the good energy is stopping him. And that's it. And they just leave like, all right, we're out of here. Hey, Loomis, you want to come with us? And he's like, nah, I'm busy. And they're like, okay, bye. And they take off and he goes back. And it ends with a twist like, oh, Michael made someone switch places with him, so he's out of there. It's just like, oh, that's a finale? That is probably one of the worst finales to a horror movie or just a movie in general ever. They get chased down one hallway and he gets stopped by some rocks. That is awful. And then the producer's cut like leaves it off with Donald Pleasance gonna become Michael's protector and this and that. And it's a bummer too, because like what a way to like, here's how we end Loomis's arc, because he passed away right before like the movie came out or whatever. It's the movie is devoted to him. Is that the word? And that's how they end his arc, is you have to control him now. You're in charge of him. Or in the theatrical, it's just he walks back in after Michael gets his ass whooped and he screams. It's like, how lame, because Donald Pleasance actually kind of was coming back to being good. Like in this one, he's retired, so he's not running around the whole time. He is pure evil. Like he was kind of just, I was happy to see him retired and having happier times as a character, and I like Donald Pleasance in this one. But yeah, he was very close to passing away, and sometimes in the movie you can tell he seems very weakened at times. And it's a little chilling to see something like that, knowing, like, yeah, he passed away right after this, and you can kind of tell, but he was good in this. I thought he was good, and it was a disappointing end to that arc with all the bad writing. But the producer's cut adds something awful to Michael Myers, and it makes it very creepy, because he's always had these family connections, and now he's trying to get Jamie and kill her and her baby. And the producer's cut more than insinuates, pretty much flat out says, Michael Myers is the father of that baby. Which is so, first off, it's like poor Jamie. Like, Danielle Harris was really good in that role, even if they didn't give her enough to do at times, especially in 5. And then they didn't bring her back because they didn't want to pay her money, which, like, $5,000. Too expensive. So now we get some really bad actress doing her role that's way too old for the part. And, like, the role, what they do with that character. You're kidnapped, and then you're raped into pregnancy by your uncle, Michael Myers, and then you die. And then he's going to try to kill your baby. It's just... all of that is just awful, really. And it just really makes Michael creepy. It's like, okay, a pure evil serial killer is one thing, but that's just gross. It's like when you watch the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, and he's also a child pedophile, not just a child murderer, but also a pedophile. So if the theatrical cut gets an F, I would give the producer's cut still an F. They improved some things, but even a worse climax ending, like at least the original had what felt like a climax of long drawn out chase and him trying to kill people instead of one hallway, rock stop them. Like, that is the worst. The theatrical improved it, but still, like, all the editing and stuff was awful in it. Terrible movie, really. So awful, but so hilarious. So juicily hilarious. Like I said, oh, and jumps out a 2-story window. That was one of the funniest parts of the movie. And then all of Paul Rudd's acting, trying to be creepy and just, like, hilarious. It's a complete mess. The movie in production between the everyone was infighting and didn't quite know what they want to do, so it was really an artistic just mess of epic proportions. It's like the original Fantastic Four Suicide Squad, where no one knows quite what they want to do, and there's all these cooks in the kitchen trying to make it one thing or another. Yeah, that's basically, this movie was ruined by that, but it's so hilariously entertaining because it's so bad, it's fun to watch. So comment below, tell me your thoughts on Halloween 6, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.